Hello, friends. Happy Monday, and welcome to It's a Ootsy Thing. I do appreciate you joining me today. And as I stand here at my kitchen window and I look out, it is very gloomy. It is extremely cold. They tell us the snow is on its way. And it really makes me ready for spring. But there's nothing I can do about it. So of course, days like today, I like to be in the kitchen. But we're going to have another episode of our What's for Supper. And I'm going to do something a little different. I've never made this before. This is going to be a first. I follow Dinner321 on Instagram, and I really like her recipes. And she did one of these recipes, here a few weeks ago, and I thought, well, it looks really good. I think I'll try it. So I went and bought the stuff. It's called Crockpot Teriyaki Chicken. Now, I'm not crazy about Asian food. I just really have never acquired a taste for it. But this looked good, so I thought I would give it a try. Now, her recipe does call for 3 to 3.5 pounds of boneless chicken thighs. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use chicken breast. It's just my husband and I, so I don't need to fix a whole lot. So I'm just going to do 2 chicken breasts and alter the recipe to what she did. So the first thing I'm going to do is mix my broth together. I have this small, I don't even know what size it is. It's just perfect for my husband and I. Let me see if I can tell on here. 1.5 quart slow cooker, and it is just perfect for my husband and I. This was my mother's, and I was able to cabbage onto that whenever we went through her things after she passed away, and it is just perfect for 2 people. So I'm going to add our wet ingredients or our broth. It's going to cook in. I'm going to cook this. It is 20 till 2, and it says 3 to 4 hours on high. So it'll be perfect just about the time that we're ready for supper. Okay, so let's see here. I think I'll do a half a cup of chicken broth. Okay, then, man, it calls for a full 10-ounce jar of teriyaki sauce. That's a lot. Okay, I'm not going that far. So I'm just going to do a half a cup. This, like I said, this is a first for me for making this, so we'll see how it turns out if this is a repeat or not. So I'm going to do a half of a cup of teriyaki sauce. Then it calls for 1 to 2 tablespoons of Asian seasoning. I just bought this package. Let's see how much is in it. I'm just going to do 1 tablespoon of this Asian seasoning that I got at the grocery store. This is, and they had several different flavors, so I really wasn't sure what to get. It wasn't real specific on her ingredients. It just said Asian seasoning. So this is sweet and sour seasoning mix, authentic Asian taste. So that's what I'm using here. I've already tore the top off of it. but that's what I'm using. I'm just using a tablespoon of it. And then and it's got little sesame seeds in it. Then I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. I'm going to take a fork and just kind of stir that all around and mix it real good. It smells Asian. And that's it. That's all that is required. Now I'm just going to add my chicken breast that I have thawed out. And I'm going to let that cook in the crock pot for 3 to 4 hours. I definitely want to wash my hands good since I am using raw chicken. And I'll just put the lid on and let it cook in the crock pot. Another thing I thought I would do while I was here is I would make some Amish Friendship Bread. My husband is not able to go out in his shop and work because it is so cold and he can't get his shop heated up. He is working on trying to find some heat source. But he just said, I got the snacks. I want a snack. So as I was scrolling through Facebook and Instagram this morning, of course, what I do on social media is look at recipes. Honestly, that's what I do. I mostly spend all my time looking at recipes. I had come across, I've seen this before, it's Amish Friendship Bread. I made this years ago and I've got a recipe in my cookbook for Amish Friendship Bread, but it requires a starter and I don't want to mess with that. I just don't like to mess with starters. It's just me. Some people don't mind. I mind. I don't like to mess with starters. I don't like to have a bunch of stuff sitting out on my counter, and I know it sounds strange, but I don't like to mess with starters. Anyway, so that's beside the point. So I thought I would put together some Amish Friendship Bread with this recipe that I found that does not require a starter. So the first thing I need to do is turn my oven on, get it preheating to 350. Now I'm going to prepare a loaf pan. This recipe is just for 1 loaf. And I am just going to smear some butter all over my loaf pan. What are you all doing on this cold, cold Monday? Are you in the kitchen? What do you like to do when it is so cold like this? Okay, get that off my hands. Now I'm going to take just a little bit of flour, sprinkle in there. By doing it like this, that keeps you from having to use Pam or some type of a cooking spray. I'm not real crazy about using cooking sprays, so if I don't have to, I don't. So I've got my loaf pan ready, and I've softened a stick of butter. And if you have butter and it's real butter, if you have butter in the refrigerator that needs softened, you just run a glass of hot water and set that butter down in there, and it'll soften it right up. So I was able to do that quickly. To that butter, I'm going to add 1 egg. I'm going to mix my butter and my egg till it's combined good. Now I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. It calls for a cup of buttermilk. Now I keep a small deal of buttermilk in my freezer just so I'll have it. And it does just fine whenever I thaw it out and need it. But since this was last minute, I didn't have time to get my buttermilk out to be able to use it in this bread. So this is something that my grandma taught me. My mother used this trick as well in her baking. If you don't have buttermilk, you can substitute 1 cup of milk. To that cup of milk, you can add 1 tablespoon of, not tablespoon, I about messed up, 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of vinegar to that milk, or you can use lemon juice. Now I just stirred it a little bit. Give it about 5 minutes, and that will start to curdle that milk and work in place of buttermilk. So while that milk is doing its thing, I'm going to go ahead and add the dry ingredients. 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 cup of sugar. I'm just going to go ahead and stir that all together. Now in a separate bowl, I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And I'm just going to mix that all together. Okay, now that my vinegar has set in my milk for a few minutes and clabbered, if that's what you want to call it, I will add that to my dry ingredients and mix it really well. You can use your hand mixer if you prefer, but I'm just gonna mix it up by hand. It works too. Just make sure it's all mixed really well. All right, we are now ready to put half of this into our loaf pan. Just half of it. Then I'm just going to spread that around. Now that I've got that spread in my loaf pan, I'm going to take about half of this cinnamon and sugar mixture, sprinkle it over the top of the bread that I've got in there. Now we'll take the rest of the batter and go on top of that. All right. I'll spread that out over the loaf pan. And you already know what's going to happen with the rest of that cinnamon and sugar. This is perfect with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. When it is cold in the afternoon, we like to have a cup of spiced tea. I have found some wonderful teas that we just love. That's a cinnamon and clove spice type tea. It is so good. And we like to drink a cup of that in the afternoon or even in the evening. Now, a lot of times of an evening, I will make us a cup of tea and I will add a chamomile bag to that, and that helps you relax and helps you sleep. All right, so I'm going to take the rest of this cinnamon and sugar. And you can tell by my clocks, it's 2 o'clock. Okay, that was easy peasy. So simple. Now we're ready to go in the oven. I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to set my timer for 50 minutes. I've got my oven set on 350. I'm going to check it in 50 minutes. I'll insert my pick to see if it's done. If not, well then that'll tell me how much longer to get it, to let it go in the oven. So I'll put this in. We've got our teriyaki chicken in the crock pot, and we'll come back when this is all good and yummy and see how it turned out. Our chicken is almost ready, so I'm going to cook some rice. Just minute rice is all I'm using, and steam some broccoli. All right, our supper is ready. We are ready to dish up our food. First, I'm going to have a little bit of bread left from what I made the other day. Let me get some, I think I'm going to do my rice first and put the broccoli on top of the rice. So I've got some rice, some bread, put the broccoli on top of the rice. And we are ready to try our chicken. I don't know, we'll see, guys. Okay, let's see here. I think I'm going to cut this chicken up just a little bit. It's very tender. We'll see about the taste. Okay. I'm really putting myself out there to be doing this taste live on camera. I guess it's recorded, but here we go. I'm gonna get some chicken, some rice, and a little bit of broccoli. It's okay. It's not bad. It's got a different flavor than what I'm used to. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with this at all. I think this would be a meal I would repeat. So it's very good. And maybe you all can try it too. Yeah, so it's teriyaki chicken, rice, broccoli, and some bread. So thank you all for joining me today on this cold, snowy, windy day. And be sure to make something good for supper. And join me again on our next episode of What's for Supper. I'm going to try something different that's very low carb tomorrow night for supper. I'm not going to do the traditional tacos like I usually do. I'm going to do something a little bit different, but it is going to be Mexican food. So be sure to join me for that. And be sure to subscribe, like, and share, and tell your friends about It's a Ootsy Thing. And remember, enjoy your meal. Bon appetit.